Jai Shri Mataji, Luis.
Jai
Hello.
Shri Mataji.
Jai Shri Mataji
Daniel,
to everybody who watching us. We thank you for that and thank you for your comments and for watching us. Today we are again, Luis Garrido and Daniel Boston, talking about Luis, whatever he want to tell us. But today probably we will speak, probably I said, because you never know what the conversation, where the conversation goes. So today we will talk about my last acquisition, let's call it. So this is the book. We touched a little bit last time talking about that. So we will enter directly in subject, supposing that you, our viewers, know by now a few things about Luis. Just to remind you that he's a Sahajogi from UK, living in UK, but he's of Portuguese origin, having realization in 1984 in Portugal.
82,
Uh,
82,
my mis
1980.
my mistake. Thank you for that. 1982. Coming in Britain in 1984, if I'm not.
83.
Yeah,
So I think
my memory, yeah.
it's very confusing. I came across mother's photo in 1981.
Ah,
Then I
okay.
met then I met Shri Mataji in 1982, and I came to live in England in 1983.
And you
So
married
in 1983,
in
yes. Mother,
1983 when
yes,
you
1980.
came to UK. Um, so after this brief introduction, we go because I'm sure we have a lot of talk about that. There are many. It's the thickest book about the main reason for writing this book. I have to tell you for the people who doesn't know is William Blake. So everything is related with William Blake's his writing or his paintings, drawings to other people works or books. So, Luis, please tell us
Ye-
and let me know when should I put the where when should I share
The
the
PDF,
the
yes, the
PDF
PDF.
with that book because it's much easy to watch it on the screen. If you want
So
to
this
now,
Thank you, Daniel. So this book you showed us is The Life of Christ as told by Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens is one of the greatest storytellers of all times. Shri Mataji likes his works very much. She talks about Dickens a lot, you know. She recommends the books of Dickens. And because he's such a great storyteller and a man who loved Christ a lot. I mean, Charles Dickens basically knew the Gospel of Saint Luke virtually by heart. So now this is a very difficult thing to do, but he was a very learned person, and he had many children, and he enjoyed because he had to read something to his children in bed. So he used to read them mostly by heart. You know, the Gospel of Saint Luke, because he could say it virtually by heart. So this is what he read to his children in bed to put them to sleep. He felt that it's very important that they know about the story of the life of Christ. So for him, that was very important. And he kept doing he kept doing this to his children all his life. But then he got some assignments where he had to travel abroad because of his writings, because of his books, to promote his books. And he felt this concern, what will happen to my children, you know, who is going to teach them about the life of Christ when I'm away. At the time, he was writing something very important. He was writing one of his novels. What was the one? It was,
David Copperfield or
yeah, David Copperfield, exactly. He was writing that one. And same time, he also wrote for his children a book called The Life of Our Lord. So that once he had that manuscript ready, he could leave it in the home and someone in the home would read it to the small children. So that would solve the problem. So he wrote it specially for his children with very strong instructions that the book cannot leave the home. This is not a book that I'm doing for publication, for it's just for my children. So it's quite humble of him. He does not want to put this book out there, you see. It's just for his children. It's just for the home, not to be published. Even in his will, he made the prohibition, don't publish this book. I think he also knew the church was going to be upset with him for meddling because the church has a kind of a monopoly over the teachings of Christ. Dickens, let him do his novels, his imagination. When it comes to theology, he's not an expert. As it happens, he was quite an expert. He was using a translation of the Bible, which is not the most common one of the King James, the one they call the King James translation. He was using a different translation that he liked. I don't know which translation he was using. And so he wrote the book for his children. It took him 2 years to write, just like it took him 2 years to write David Copperfield. At the same time, he wrote this book that he called The Life of Our Lord. So the way it tells the story of Christ, it's a beautiful way of telling the story of Christ from someone who really knows how to tell a story, someone who knows how to teach children, someone who loves Christ really very much, very deeply. So it's a good book to read. So I thought, let's make this available to Saha's children, this book written by Charles Dickens. And to make it more appealing to the children, why not illustrate the book with the paintings of William Blake? Because William Blake did hundreds and hundreds of paintings about the life of Christ. So this should be something beautiful for the children to see. You have the words of a great storyteller. You have the paintings of one of the people on earth, like Blake, who really loved Christ. So the two together, I hoped would be an interesting book for Saha's children. So there was a small problem, is that when we had the first drafts ready, we showed it to a couple of Saj yogis, and the response was not very good. People said, my children are not going to like this book. The English is very difficult. So the reason for that is that Dickens, when he wrote, it was a great power of creativity. He wrote very, very long paragraphs. Sometimes a paragraph could be almost a whole page.
Okay.
So he had to pay some professional newspaper writers to edit his writings because they knew how to turn things into very small columns, very small sentences, whereas Dickens does the opposite, very long sentences. Sometimes a whole paragraph is almost a whole page. And he is using a style of language that is a bit old-fashioned. His biblical quotes come from a different translation of the Bible that's even more ancient than the King James. So the Saj Yogis gave me the correct feedback that my children are not going to like this, to read it like this. It's very difficult. So we were forced to do the editing as if, who am I to edit Charles Dickens? I mean, I'm not an expert in English language, but I did my best with my wife. We tried to simplify the English, modernize the English, do the quotes according to modern translations of the Bible, not necessarily the King James translation, but other translations of the Bible. So when we know that Dickens is quoting from the Bible, we try to use more modern translations of the Bible that make it easier for people to understand nowadays.
Can I ask you something? Because I feel the need to introduce a little bit, because we are not talking too much, if all, about Carol. Can you please, first of all, forgive me that I interrupt you. You can do it now or later, but I feel the need to speak a little bit about Carol because her contribution is quite an important one. So can you please tell us a few things about your wife? And obviously she's a Sahaji since before you married her, and her contribution to the books, please.
Yes, I mean, everything I ever wrote about William Blake and Saj Yoga, she was always there writing with me, improving the English, and discussing each and every sentence. You would be amazed how many things are right that she does not agree. And I have to fight to keep those bits in the book, and they end up being removed. Until I say it in a way that she finds acceptable, it's not going to stay in the book because I give her the job of editing as well as discussing everything. So we go for walks, and usually while we're out walking, I tell her what I'm going to write, what I'm going to say. And I look at her face and I know if she agrees or not, and I have to rephrase it and rephrase it. This is even before I started writing it. And from her face, I know if it's going well or not. And very often it's not going well. I have to change it and change it. If I cannot convince her, I cannot convince anyone. She knows how I think. But even then, often she doesn't agree. And so many of my sentences, precious sentences have been totally removed by her. And then she improves it. Then I change whatever she changes, I also change it. And then she changes it and I change it. And we are always, working on it. But when it comes to the Bible, she had a good education about the Bible. So she's very good for any work. If it's related to the Bible, she's a tremendous help because she likes the Bible a lot. And so she's very good with that. She can help a lot with that. So it's fantastic to have her as someone, on the team. It's a really great help. She's a bit more camera shy than I. So she does not want to, she prefers to read from a script if possible. So she will, in all our presentations, she does all the talking so long as she's reading from a script, but she does not like to talk nonsense like me. I improvise anything, it doesn't matter, but
You are not talking
she's not
nonsense.
like that. I
Wait,
go on talking nonsense, but she does not like to
well,
talk without a script.
maybe our heritage. We are Latinos, both of us, so quite we are quite open in our this discussion. We were lucky to meet her once, and we change a little bit of. So we meet Carol. That's her name. So Carol Garrido. Obviously, you'll find her name on the books as well. So. Maybe one day we will have her as a partner of conversation. I don't like to say interviews are not interviews. We do conversation here. So sorry for that interlude. I feel the need to talk a little bit about Carol. She deserves all that credit. So if you want to resume, tell me when do you
Yes,
want to
on the
share?
same on the same subject, I was lucky that Shri Mataji told her to help me. Anything I do of a scholarly nature, Shri Mataji told her she must help me. So she was part of the team from day one. So mother told him, we were just about to get married, and mother told him he's a scholar, so anything he does of a scholarly nature, make sure you help him. So, and then she asked me, mother said you are a scholar. What type of scholar are you? I had no idea you are a scholar. Neither do I. Mother says these things. I didn't know I was a scholar. I'm not a scholar of anything at all. I don't know why mother said that. But there you are. Mother somehow knew I was going to have to write something about Sahaj. I didn't know, but mother must have known because she said that to Carol. And
You
Carol
know
came and
what kind of scholar you are? You are kind of Costian scholar,
maybe I had no
you know,
idea. I
because
told her straight away, I'm not a scholar at all of nothing.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know why mother said that to her. At the time, this did not make sense to us. It only made sense many, many years after, but there you are. But mother is a prophet, really. She knows things that we can't even imagine, really.
yes, yeah. Tell me when you want to when do you want me to do the sharing of the book?
Of the book. Okay, I'll tell you what, since you like diversions, I had promised one last, remember, I had promised one last type of miraculous story from my experiences.
Thank you.
So one last one before we embark on this PDF, just for lightening up, because
Yeah.
uh, so one day the invitation came to go to mother's house, those who are free, to help shift some furniture into a van. This is something that happens from time to time. Whenever I got the invitation or I heard about it somehow, I would rush there, of course. Not as, I mean, I'm not a great strong person for lifting furniture or anything, but I like to join in. You know, I could do it, of course. I've done it so many times, but I'm not particularly strong. So that day there was quite a lot to do in a short time. So when I arrived, the person in charge, the Saj Yogi, he was a bit disappointed, you know. So, where are the people? Here I am. What? Is that all? It's just you? My God, of all people, just me on top, not even one of the strongest ones. My specialty is sitting in the kitchen drinking tea or sandwiches, you know. So, but then I am, you see. So I have to prove myself somehow, you see. And there was a lot to take into the van. There was no lift. And we were, I don't know, maybe the third floor. This was the flat that Sir had in a very prestigious location in central London. He had a flat there, a temporary one. But I think now he was going to give up that flat. It was like a flat just for receiving diplomats, you know. He had his own house with a mother, but so now that thing had to be closed down, you know. So the furniture had to be removed bit by bit, maybe for storage or for other properties. And so this was the job. The time was short, really. And when I arrived, I could see how that Sajogi was busy. Mother had so many more instructions to tell him. He had to remember everything, what to take, what not to take, what to do this, what to do that. He was really completely overwhelmed by the amount of stuff to do in such short time. And only this guy came, me, who is, I mean, my specialty is drinking tea, you know, and eating sandwiches, not not shifting furniture. But I'm up to it. I've done it many times. And so he pointed to me a piece of furniture that was so massive, so big, you know. And he told me, I know, because he said he assembled it. So that thing was so big it could not come into the house. It had to be assembled in the smaller, you know, in smaller parts and then joined together because it was that big. And that one had to also be taken to the van. It was on the list to go. He didn't have time, he didn't have tools, didn't have instructions. We have that big, a massive piece of furniture and many others. Of course, there was a big van for this stuff. So I started taking a few small things, and then I said, I'm gonna see if I can deal with this big one, you see, because we cannot undo it. We don't have tools here. We don't have the instructions, you know. Yeah, I think he was busy talking to mother, and I started dragging that piece of furniture up until the door, and I could see it's so much bigger than the door. There's no way this can go. But then let's see if we shift it a little bit here, a little bit there. And I said, maybe there's a hope, you see. So then he comes again, you know, this Sajyogi was in charge. And I told him, look, how lucky I was. This big furniture was on wheels. So I took it all the way from that corner right against the door, you see. And he said, no, there are no wheels. There are no wheels at all because I assembled it. I know there are no wheels. How did you move that? You know, with two fingers, I just pushed it and the thing went on wheels, but there are no wheels. So this is the first surprise. Anyway, he got out of there and went again to talk to mother. And I started shifting it, and somehow or another, the furniture went through the door. All the way out, I said, this is unbelievable. The furniture got out, you see. It's impossible. And it was so big that it filled up the whole, you know, the area outside the door. It's a communal area for people to go up and down for different flats. There's no lift. So if you put a huge piece of furniture there, you block the access. Nobody can come up out of their homes or into their homes because of that massive piece of furniture jamming the whole place. And there it was. So suddenly, you know, I'm stuck there. And I said, now I really have a problem. What to do with this monster, you see? It cannot go down the stairs. It's too big, you know. It cannot go, the angles is not possible to take it down the stairs. So a big success. I took it out of the home, but now I'm stuck with that monster there in that kind of hallway blocking the access. And suddenly there's a man coming, and he's definitely a foreign person. He does not look English, really, with a big mustache, you know, dark skin, you know, black hair. Looks like a strong man, maybe weightlifter or acrobat, you know, circus type of a person, you know. And he managed, I told him, I'm very sorry, I'm blocking the way. I'm stuck here. I don't know what to do. I'm in trouble. He said, brother, that's not the problem at all. And he squeezes himself behind the furniture in a little gap as if he's a contortionist. And there he goes, and he continues and goes up the stairs. I said, goodness me, this guy's made of rubber or what? How did he manage to do this? It really was surprising, but he told me, don't worry about that, brother, all is fine. And I said, wow, what a relief. These people are really, I mean, some neighbors are not so easy like this one. Then comes another man just like him, and I said, "What? This guy has a double or a brother or a twin, just like him, same mustache, dark hair." Another type of contortionist. He went through the little gap between the furniture and the wall. I don't know how he did that, as if he's made of rubber or elastic. And there he goes. Goodbye, don't worry, it's fine. I'm apologizing. What the problem I'm creating here for everybody. Let's hope there's not a fire. I'm blocking the way. And then another man comes the same. I said, "What's this? Am I seeing doubles and triples or triplet or what? Or a double?" They look like the same. Like as if they're all brothers or God knows what. The same. The guy goes through the gap. He tells me not a problem. But this time I got the courage and I told him, "Perhaps you would give me a help to take this downstairs, would you?" "Of course we will, brother. Don't you worry about that. We just need to go and see our mother first. So we need to go to the top. We need to talk to our mother first. And after that, we'll give you a hand. There's no problem, you see. So you go home. You just go home and relax. And when you are ready, we'll take it down with you and we'll call you. Just go and relax." So I went back to the flat, mother's flat, and relaxed. Went to the kitchen, ate a sandwich or two, then a cup of tea, the usual. And the Sajogi comes and he says, "Where is that furniture? What did you do with that? How can it be? This furniture, how did you manage to take it out?" "I just took it. I don't know. I mean, I'm really amazed. So it's there, blocking the way." "Oh, really? That's very bad." You open the door, it's not there. The furniture disappeared. It's gone. So he rushed downstairs in a fright. And he comes back again up the stairs. He went up and down in a rush. "It's gone. They stole it. They took it. Oh my God. Let's run after these guys, these crooks, huh?" And we came running after them, and you couldn't see them anywhere. Then we looked in the van, and the furniture was inside the van. So it really is a strange story. So they didn't steal the furniture. They just took it down. They didn't even bother me or call me or knock on the door to come and help me, come and help us. We are going to take it now. They just took it somehow. And by the time I arrived home, I said, "This story is it's full of nonsense. This is not possible. They couldn't take it down the stairs without dismantling it or disassembling it. Neither could I take it out of the home without disassembling it. Who are these people? They look like some characters from the Amarshitra Kathas, with their mustaches and everything, like strong weightlifters or what do you call this, wrestlers. They look like wrestlers or contortionists, or circus people maybe. I don't know how to describe them. They don't look like the type of people you meet. And then the furniture somehow disappeared down the stairs in one piece, and it's all there inside the van. It took them a second. I don't know. This is it's the usual Maya that happens when you go near mother's house or start talking to mother. These things happen. And such a small thing like shifting furniture for mother, but you can get a very interesting miracle. You realize that certain things are impossible, but they just happened. I mean, I remember another occasion at Shashem Road. I was trying to paint the whole house, and I did, basically, except the sitting room. There was a big carpet, which was a gift from mother. Mother had given that carpet for the whole sitting room in the Shashem Road ashram. Very big room, very big roll of carpet. It was leaning against the wall, so I cannot paint that wall. So one day in the evening, when all the men are home, I said, "Let us," and all the women, "let us shift this carpet away from the wall so that I can paint this area." And we could not shift the carpet. Impossible. We all realized this carpet is too heavy. We cannot do it. There's 4 or 5 men, plus all the ladies helping, and the carpet just wouldn't shift. So I said, "Oh my God, I've seen these obstacles before. you know, let's try a mantra of Sri Hanumana." And alone, I shifted the carpet with no problem alone. One end and then the other end, did the painting, and 2 days later, when it was dry, shifted the carpet back into place. And I still today don't know how I did that because I'm not that strong at all. And we could, all of us together in the ashram, we could not shift it, not a millimeter. And then it happens. So when mother wants something to happen, the impossible becomes possible. And these are very trivial little situations. But I've seen so many situations like this in Sahaj that I would say you don't have to do just, very important tasks for Sahaj, even simple tasks, for the collective or for mother or for the ashram. Small things you are doing for Sahaj, sometimes the divine gives you a little sign that you are not alone, really. You have more help than we think. Anyway, that was maybe a last story I wanted to share with you.
until
I have
until the
promised
last one. Uh,
until others come to mind.
you should write it down, Luis, because I'm sure we scratch only the surface here with our stories, but you should write it down. I have a question about the three guys. Usually when we hear this kind of story, and I said we, that means my wife and I, we always think at Sri Hanumana. You told us another story with the guy who helped you to immigration and some other story. We
Yes,
always,
yes.
the first thing the first thought who come in our heads is he was Sri Hanumana. Do you ever find who were these three guys who
No,
go to Shri
no,
Mataji upstairs?
nothing. I mean, I didn't have a chance to have a long chat with mother. At the time, I was just puzzled, nothing made sense.
They
Just
disappear.
puzzled. It's very, I mean, I hardly saw them. I hardly had a few words with them, and then they are gone. At one moment, the other yogi thought they stole the stuff, but they didn't. They just placed it inside the van very nicely.
Oh, okay. So, if you remember some other stories, your last story, it's always the last one because it's the last until another story will come.
Maybe, yes,
You
others
know,
might come. Yes,
the comparison is not very interesting, very nice, but it's the same with the last pope. This is the last pope. You remember? This is
yes,
the
yes,
last pope. Of course, he's the last one.
yes.
And after that come another one. um, so we should resume our story about Dickens
Life of Christ. Yes,
and
Dickens
uh,
and
and
Life of
and Blake,
Christ.
with the mention, to be very clear, that is a whole work of Luis and Carol Garrido, which edited Dickens, difficult to be read not only by children, make it alive again, contemporary, and added pictures, paintings, sorry, from William Blake. So it's a full work of Lewis and Carroll, this book, because it's not only Dickens, it's not only Blake. It's a very interesting combination, and I'm so lucky to have it. So let me know when you want to do the sharing, Luis.
Okay, let's have a look at the PDF if you don't mind. If you can share it. Yes, so the topic of Jesus Christ is like the topic of William Blake because Jesus Christ is also a prophet of Sahaj Yoga, according to Shri Mataji. And so here it shows a quote of Shri Mataji about this on this subject, because Christ is connected to Jerusalem. The word Jerusalem has to do with Christ naturally, but with William Blake, we're talking of the New Jerusalem, which became England, and then of course becomes the whole world. Ultimately, the New Jerusalem becomes the whole world. So this subject goes back to Christ as a prophet of Sahaj Yoga. Maybe we could move to the next page, Adrian,
Yes,
if you don't
please
mind.
let me know what page you want and when to move, please.
So this is another quote of Christ that Shri Mataji has reminded us of. Sometimes Shri Mataji in her talks gives us this quote that the Comforter, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you all things and will remind you of everything I have said to you. So Shri Mataji is that Comforter. She's the Holy Spirit. And she had to teach us again everything that Christ said before. Shri Mataji had to teach us again. Christ already had prophesied that this would happen. So the fact that Shri Mataji came on this earth was prophesied also by Christ. So Christ is a prophet of Sahaja Yoga. Perhaps on the next slide, what have you got here? Yes, this is a William Blake illustration of the goddess of wisdom, or Sophia. And while doing that, you can see that William Blake uh, wrote made a drawing of some little booklets. In those booklets, he gives this quote again, and the Father shall give you another comforter. So that's the book of wisdom that the goddess Sophia is holding in her hands, that the Father shall give you another comforter. So Mother sometimes asks this question to the seekers of truth in her talks. Are you not trying to find who is that other comforter? Where is he that Christ promised? You know, as seekers of truth, we should be trying to find where is it that other comforter that Christ promised to send us. So we should be seeking for the comforter, which is Shri Mataji. And Blake also illustrated that. So Christ said it, but Blake illustrated it. And Shri Mataji has highlighted this point in her talks to us and to the seekers. Maybe the next one. What have you got here? Yes, the whole quote is very beautiful. And the Father shall give you another comforter, that he may abide with you forever, even the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive.
Yeah.
So it's going to be difficult for humankind to face up to this truth that there is a comforter coming, you know. It's never easy for human beings to recognize an incarnation. So Christ had also foreseen the difficulty for human beings to recognize. So if you move to the next, what have you got here? Okay, yes, here Blake is giving another related painting that is related to this subject. Christ also talked about the counselor. See, when the counselor comes, whom I will send you from the Father, the Spirit of truth who goes out from the Father, that one will testify about me. So we can see that Sri Mataji fulfilled this prophecy of Christ because she testified, Sri Mataji testified about Sri Ganesha, she testified about Christ, and Sri Mataji is the counselor. She said that. She said in her talks that she is the Mahalakshmi. The Mahalakshmi is the counselor. So Christ promised the advent of Sri Mahalakshmi, of Sri Mahakali, and also Sri Mahalakshmi. So Christ was, in a sense, prophesying that the whole Holy Spirit would come down on earth, because that's the three sides of the goddess. The Shakti includes the counselor, the comforter, and also the Redeemer. Mataji calls it the Redeemer. And now the Redeemer has a relationship with Sri Durga, because that's the power of the goddess in the center. In the center, that's the center chakra, the chakra of the center heart, which is the what Mother calls the Redeemer, or Sri Durga. And William Blake gave a beautiful illustration of Sri Durga. You can see that this is the woman of Revelation that is mentioned in the book of Revelation in chapter 12. And the Bible says, a great and wondrous sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under the feet, and the crown of 12 stars on her head. Sri Mataji has explained in the lectures that she is that woman that has been prophesied in the Bible, in the book of Revelation. And Blake gave a painting so beautiful of that woman of Revelation. You can see that the wings have the shape of a heart.
Yes.
So, and she's in golden color, which is the color of Sri Durga. She was of a golden complexion, like gold. So William Blake made a wonderful painting of Sri Durga. And as Mother said herself, she is that Sri Durga. She is the Redeemer that Christ promised. So we can continue because it takes a little long. It takes too long to read. In this case, this is an extract from Shri Mataji's lectures where she says, the comforter is the left side or Mahakali. The second aspect is the counselor, like an instructor or Mahasarasvati. The third one is the redeemer, who gives you enlightenment through the Sushumna Nadi called as Mahalakshmi. These are the three powers which exist within us as the Holy Spirit. So they are inside of us, but Mother is a manifestation of that. You know, that which is very hard for us to understand mentally, but she said she is that. She is the Holy Spirit. She has announced that to the world. So this is one of Blake's illustrations of the life of Christ. It all starts with the annunciation of Christ, the advent of Christ. This is Archangel Gabriel announcing to the Virgin Mary that she will give birth to the Son of God. So what Blake did here is a bit strange because the Virgin Mary is just writing down, she's writing whatever she's writing, and the Archangel is totally surrendered, putting the hands towards her to get vibrations from her, is bowing down, is very shy, is not even looking at her. So Blake gives a slightly out of the ordinary depiction of this scene. It's not many painters showed such a humble archangel, bowing down to the Virgin with the hands towards the goddess. And the goddess is looking at him in astonishment, but she's still writing down whatever she was writing. She was very learned, of course. She has nothing to
Leonardo
learn.
Leonardo da Vinci have something close to the attitude of Archangel
Gabriel, yes.
Gabriel. Yeah,
Yes, I mean, he was very surrendered, no doubt, yes.
yeah,
I find this particularly touching, this one.
yeah.
So if we move to the next. So here, of course, this is the baby has just been born, the baby Jesus. And you can see behind the Holy Family. And you can see the sastraras of the mother and child attaching.
Mhm.
So it's a great oneness between the mother and child. And this is what creates a very great painting of the Virgin Mary and the baby Jesus, when you can see the great bond of love between the mother and the child. And Blake managed to make a very loving feeling that one gets from looking at the mother and child in this painting. So here is the annunciation of this is the visit from the three Magi, the three wise men. They come to bring gifts. And Shri Mataji mentioned in one of the talks that the Sri Magi are actually the Trimurti.
Yeah.
So the Trimurti is Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu. So I couldn't tell you who is who, but I get the feeling that Lord Shiva is the one in red. I don't know why, and
I always associate the oldest one because obviously there are three uh, ages of life with all these magis. Always there are represented old, middle age one, and the young one. Always are represented like that. But I get the feeling that the old one is Sri Brahma. I don't know why. So yeah,
you see
my feeling.
I don't know exactly who is who. It's
No.
impossible for me to know. But in my mind, because Lord Brahmadeva is the ruler of Africa, because that's his continent,
Uh-huh.
Africa.
Uh-huh.
I thought that one of them has a
Yeah.
more African look. So I thought, okay, this could be Sri Brahmadeva.
Yes.
The one who is giving the gold, I associate him more with the Sri Vishnu. I don't know why. And the one in red, the old one, I would make him Lord Shiva, But this is me talking without full knowledge. I would like to know who is who, but I don't. I don't know exactly who is who. But Blake has a habit of putting this type of characters that nobody knows who they are, and often they are the Trimurtis. So in this case, they could be the Trimurtis again.
Yep.
We could go to the next one. So this is the circumcision of Christ. So you can see the hand above the Sastrara, the priest, the high priest
Yeah.
is putting the hand above the Sastrara. You can see the people are with the hands out like Sajogis trying to feel the vibrations. So this is typical of Blake. And then you see some very aged people again in that we don't know who they are.
Mhm.
And the mother once mentioned that Blake puts the Trimurtis in his paintings, but we don't know who is who, you see. So in some cases, the Trimurtis could be there in the paintings, except that I don't know what the Trimurtis look like, so I cannot tell you who they are, or if it's them or someone else.
If
It's
you
very
ask
vague.
me, if you ask me, I like more the fact that we don't know exactly who he is because it's a subject of every viewer's interpretation, and it's a subject of finding little details, every one of us. So
True, true. Everybody sees different things, really.
yes,
Saj
I love
Yogis.
it. I love it.
Yes, that is fascinating that it's
Yeah.
open to interpretation. It could mean so many things. It
Yes.
could be it could be the biblical characters described in the Bible. It could be someone else as well. It's always very suspicious that there are this type of very aged people looking like the Trimurtis.
Mhm.
They keep appearing in Blake's paintings. But unfortunately, we don't have that precise knowledge to say with confidence who is who, we don't know.
Yeah.
But we can move to the next one. So this is a painting of the Virgin Mary and the baby Jesus again. They're both feeling the vibrations. He's turning his hand toward, one of the hands is turning towards his mother.
Mhm.
The beautiful thing is that his head is inside the heart of the Virgin Mary. That's
Yes.
beautiful thing, isn't it? His full head is inside the heart of the Virgin Mary. So
Have you
this
count
is,
the stars?
I'm sorry?
Have you count the stars?
No, I have not. It's a
I,
bit difficult to do.
yeah, because there are different sizes. I reckon are more than 12s, but yeah, yeah.
Yes, it's a fascinating one. The Virgin is crying. You can see a tear on the eye.
Mhm.
So this is an illustration of one part of the Bible where the Virgin gets that prophecy that she will have to suffer a lot. The baby is going to suffer when he grows up. As a prophet, the life of Christ is not going to be an easy one at all.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of suffering. So she got those news, and that's why the tear in her eyes there. This is another beautiful one of the baby Jesus and the Virgin Mary. It looks like powerful, like Sri Ganesha. The strength in the body is like, of course, he's the one who supports the whole universe. So he has to be very strong. And Blake draws a really powerful, strong Christ like a Ganesha. I think that's a fascinating painting of Christ by Blake. And the version is incredible also. The beauty of
Uh,
this painting is beyond description.
I reckon it's a hint to the flight to Egypt here
Yes, it is. This is in Egypt. You can see
because you
the
can see the
pyramids
pyramid
behind this.
in the
Yes,
left side
background is
of Virgin Mary, and on the right side could be Jerusalem. I don't know, but
yes, it
it's
could
it's
be. But
it's
this in
possible.
Egypt. This is the version in Egypt.
Yep. Yeah. And the tree, which looks like a palm, but
Yes, the palm tree.
the story goes that the Virgin stopped being hungry under the fig tree, and the branches of the fig tree with the fig fruits just bend it down for her to be able to collect the fruits. It's one of the story goes.
Yeah, beautiful story,
But
isn't it?
this is, I
Beautiful.
don't know, looks like
Palm tree, the palm tree, yes.
yes, and those looks more like a coconut in a way, but I don't know. You see the the fruits here doesn't look like the palm tree do not have fruits, you know?
True, they have some nuts, from which you do the oil,
Yeah.
kind of some, you
Anyway,
know. They
okay.
look the palm gives a bit like olives. They look like olives, the fruits of the palm tree.
Depend of there are many types of
They are the
I have
bigger
in back of
ones.
my garden here about three of them, three types, but none
Oh,
of them
really?
have fruits. Yes, I can show you. They have a little inflorescence. The one I have it here in front. Some other time I will show you.
So the next one, yes, this is another painting by Blake, of course, of the Holy Family. And around the Holy Family, on the background, we see, three lady angels, there. And this is another case of Blake putting the three aspects of the Adi Shakti, the Mahalakshmi, the Mahasarasvati, the Mahakali. So they are there also in the painting. You have the Holy Family, and then you have the three, that Trigunatmika. Mother called it the Trigunatmika. That Blake writes likes to paint also the Trigunatmika. So they are represented in the form of three lady angels around the Holy Family. On the ground, you can see the baby the Saint Baptist is playing with the lamb. The
Mhm,
baby Jesus is on the lap of the goddess of
mhm.
the Virgin Mary. Then you have Saint Joseph, and you have also Elizabeth.
Yep.
And then you have the Trigunatmika, the three ladies,
Yeah.
which are very important for Sahaj. And Blake, as a prophet of Sahaj, is always painting the Trigunatmika. That's one of the things he does.
Have you noticed the flowers? So you have on our left a kind of daisy, and on our right, on the bottom, a lily.
Oh, yes, a lily in the ground. Yes, there. Yes, beautiful.
Yeah.
Incredible. The
So
details are very beautiful.
the details are always fascinated because we are going also for the small details, and we learn a lot of little stuff from the Renaissance masters, and they are full of symbols in their paintings. So that's why I'm looking always for little small details. So the lily, obviously, it's a sign of annunciation and the purity as well. And the daisy as well, it's another name of Shri Mother.
Yes, true. Very true. Very symbolic of mother. Both of them are symbolic of the mother, indeed. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Thank you. In the next one, if you could. So this is Christ in the carpenter's shop.
Mhm.
And what you can see is that Christ was a golden builder. He has the golden halo around his head. And he seems to like the profession of building because he's holding the building tools. And he has drawn on the ground a very intelligent geometric pattern on the ground that he drew. And the parents are looking at him with astonishment at his wisdom. But as Mother has told us, Sri Ganesha is the Lord of mathematics. So it's not surprising Christ drawing such a complex mathematical diagram on the ground there with these instruments. So he was a golden builder. Like Saj Yogis are golden builders, according to William Blake, we are the golden builders. He prophesied that. But in the vision of William Blake, Christ also was a golden builder.
Do you
Of course,
mind?
his father.
Do you mind it? I show you one of the painting of John Everett Millet.
Yes, yes, go ahead,
Uh,
please.
uh, Jesus in the workshop of his father.
I've not seen that now. Please,
I will
please.
I will show you because it's one of who fascinated me, especially
Ah,
of the attitude of Virgin Mary toward Jesus, which just get hurt by working there, and the blood is here as well. So that's a premonition as well.
yes. The blood on the vase. Yes.
Yes, so the blood on the hand because he was somehow hurted during the work, and also a little bit of blood drop on his feet.
Yes.
So I love this one, and I remember when I saw Blake one,
It's beautiful. Really beautiful.
and the attitude of mother. It's also very well
Incredible.
captured here. Of course, it's a completely different style. They live uh, not very far apart, but it's a completely different part. So that was in 1850.
Yes, this is very close to Blake's life. Yes.
Yes, but completely different in style. And
Completely. Yes.
the magic of Blake is not captured here. But again, I like a little bit. And this flower, this red flower as well. Don't mention the
There, yes.
the stock of lambs, and
Oh, yes. There they are. Yes.
there are many, and the nails.
Yes. This is all to do with life's
Yeah,
Christ's
I mean,
life.
if you
Yes.
look carefully, you will find a lot of the leather who can be
Yes.
ascent, or also the leather when Jesus was taken down from the cross. There are few,
Right.
yeah, it's not a bad painting, but again, Blake was more mysterious and close to spirituality. This is more didactic in style. I
It's a
will
wonderful painting. Yes.
I will come back to ours.
Yes. This is another fascinating one, which is typical of Blake because Mother pointed this detail to us that Blake likes to create a kind of an architecture that points towards heaven, going upwards towards heaven, towards the Sastrara. So you see
Yeah,
that little hut, it has a vector going up to the sky. That's
yeah,
the pyramid style.
yeah.
So it directs our attention to the top, to the Sastrara. And then completely out of proportion, we have the two archangels,
Yes.
just like in Sahaj, one on the left, one on the right. So
Yeah.
this looks like a Sahaj chakra chart. You have the two archangels, the
Yes.
left and the right, and in the center we have the Virgin Mary, with the big halo and the archangels as well. So it's Blake is reminding us how important these two archangels are going to be in the for us, on the left and on the right. And but the Virgin is there representing the center. Our attention is guided towards the top. This is a very typical painting of William Blake style. The proportions are mysterious, really, divine. They're
Uh,
not
the
on a human
angels,
level.
yeah, the angels are flying because they do not touch the earth, obviously. But you are right. I mean, the proportion are completely.
It's a divine proportions. This is
Yes,
not on a
exactly.
human, not on a human scale. It's the
No,
Sri Hanumana scale, like a Sri Hanumana scale, which is
yes, huge. Yeah.
huge at
Uh,
times.
and also the triangle is the symbol of masculinity. The triangle up triangle is the symbol of masculinity.
Yes, so the power, yes.
Yes.
So
You
the
figure
next
it out. What is this stick?
this stuff, this is for weaving, for preparing for cloth making.
Aha. Yep.
It's for making cloth,
Yes.
stuff
Okay.
like this.
I get it now.
So here, this is one of the temptations of Christ. And I remember Shri Mataji sometimes going through the paintings of Blake and telling us, look at the size of the auras, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So this aura of Christ is like a pillar. They describe in the Bible a pillar of light.
Mm-hmm.
The pillar of light used to guide the people of the Israelites when they were in the desert. They were being guided by a pillar of light, so they knew where to go. And here Blake put Christ, you know, as that pillar of light that gives guidance to people. And of course, on the left and on the right, you have like a mini judgment of Satan is being condemned, is defeated. So Christ overcame the temptation and Satan is lost. He goes
That
down.
sound
This is,
looks like Lucifer.
yes, so Lucifer came to give a temptation to Christ, but he was defeated. So this is a biblical illustration. But
I noticed. I
what
have
is
noticed
fantastic is
that.
to see the aura of power, of spiritual power around Christ. So
Yes,
Blake's vision highlights the spiritual power of Christ, not the human side, but the spiritual power is really magnified in the case of Blake.
and I've noticed the top of the cathedral. So Jesus is exactly on top of the human buildings.
Yes, yes, this is the temptation that Satan told him, you know. He took him to the pinnacle of the temple and told him, you know, why
Yes.
don't you jump, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that was the temptation. Why don't you jump and God should come and save you? After all, if you are the Son of God, you know. So that was the temptation.
Yeah.
This one is another illustration of the
Yeah.
same point,
Hmm.
except now Christ seems to have used the power of the Kundalini to get rid of Satan. It seems that the Kundalini did a job for Christ somehow. You see that cloud of in a spiral
Yes.
reminds the power of the Kundalini is the acting power to overcome these bad temptations.
Yeah.
Again, you have the two archangels there ministering to Christ, like the assistants of Christ. The two archangels are there. Should he need them, there they are. So it looks like a very Sahaj painting again.
Yeah.
Christ is standing on a kind of a rock there. It looks
Mhm.
like a triangular bone, you know, almost the shape of that
Yes.
rock, like the
Yeah.
triangular bone.
Hmm.
There's some interesting things in this painting. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful painting.
Yeah.
We can move to the next. So some Saj yogis looking at this painting, they say this is a depiction of Christ as the Agnya chakra. So you can see here Blake is painting like Christ is actually the deity of the Agnya chakra. Can you see the position there? Christ in the hole. You see the two
Yeah.
like optic
Yeah.
chiasma in
Yeah.
the whole chakra system, you know, and is there at that crossing, you know, as a representation of the Agnya chakra. Really, the power of the Agnya chakra is Christ.
Yes. Can I Can I add a little bit? My first thought when I see it,
Yes,
obviously, Jesus Christ is the Lord of Agya Chakra, but on the same time, he is Sri Ganesha. So my first thought when I saw that painting, with a little bit of imagination, you can see a svastika here or the four petals of Muladhara. So
exactly,
uh,
exactly.
I hope I don't stretch it too much, but that was my first things when I see it. I say, oh, Muladhara, the four.
Yes, yes. It's there. It's there. Definitely.
Yep,
That's what it is. Yes,
yep,
definitely.
yeah. Very interesting. So left and right, you have musicians. Down, you have offerants. So
Yes,
uh, looks like bread and
and
so-called
wide.
wine, probably,
Yes,
which is the
yes, it is.
blood
Yes,
and the the flesh.
yes. Good, great, great symbols. Yes, of Christ.
Love it,
Yes.
love it, love it. I have to tell you that the fact that I saw them for the first time, because I don't read the book and I don't go to all the paintings. The fact that I is the first time when I saw them, some of them, um make them very spontaneous to me. Boom, boom. What I tell you exactly what it's in my in my head now.
Okay, let's see a few more if you don't mind.
Yes,
The next one now. This was
yes,
the
yes,
next one. This is a beautiful one because here Christ is with the hands towards the mother, so this is a very Sahaj symbol. You can see that triangular shape again going to the sky, going to the Sastrara. Then
yes.
above you can see a kind of a Sastrara area. The whole
Mm-hmm.
area of the Sastrara is there. It's
Mm-hmm.
very hard to understand. Everybody has the hands out, feeling the vibrations, but Christ
Yes.
is below, is standing below his mother. The
Mm.
mother is placed a bit higher
Yeah.
and is there with the hands towards her, just like a Sahaja.
Yes.
I think this is Blake giving us a little kind of a picture of what Sahaj is going to look like somehow,
Yes.
because his job as a prophet of Sahaj is to give us a kind of a glimpse of Sahaj Yoga in his paintings, and there
Yeah.
it is. Looks like a Sahaj photograph almost.
Yeah. And male characters,
I couldn't say who they are, honestly. I assume one of them could be Saint Joseph or could be disciples of Christ who came with him.
John
You know,
maybe, Saint John.
I
I
don't
don't.
know who. I
Yeah.
honestly don't know.
No, no. It's up to speculation. We can. Yeah.
So
Wow.
this again looks like a Sahaj photograph of
Mhm.
Christ is giving realization to the lady that's Mary. On the floor is Mary, and standing up is Martha. So the lady
Mhm.
Martha is complaining. This is an illustration from a Bible quote where
Yes.
Martha is complaining that my sister Mary, instead of being in the kitchen helping to serve the guests, is just sitting there, doing nothing.
Yeah.
But if you can see, look at this detail.
Yes.
Mary is getting realization from Christ, putting the hand over the sastrara.
Yeah.
Above the chandelier, we have seven candles enlightened.
Yes.
Lit seven lit candles, seven, you see.
Yes.
And it looks like Christ is enlightening all the chakras. So it's symbolic, the seven
Yeah.
candles. And the whole shape, raises your attention to the sastrara. And another small detail is that Martha is wearing shoes because she's just doing physical work in the kitchen. But Mary, who is receiving realization, took off her shoes. So everything is the way it should be.
Yes.
So she took off her shoes to receive realization, whereas the sister is still wearing the shoes because she's just working in the kitchen.
Yes, thanks for this little detail. I will give you another one which struck me, and I like the genius of Blake. The hand of Martha, which looks like receiving realization, but is not because the attitude
No.
is what she's doing here. That's the
Yes, yes,
the
with a guest instead of
Yes,
working in the kitchen.
exactly.
Yeah.
So her whole attitude is questioning, and the shape of her hands is not like receiving realization, although looks like in the first moment. But when you see the whole picture and you know the story, her attitude is questioning one, including the hand.
Yes. It's another painting where you see Christ raising the Kundalini, but in fact, he brought that boy back to life. That boy had died. And the widow is the lady dressed in black. The widow, this was the only son. Not only she was a widow, but she lost her only son. And
Yeah.
Christ felt pity for the widow and brought the boy back to life. But he raised the Kundalini. And Blake has a habit of putting himself in the paintings, of Christ. So between the Christ and the widow, the person carrying the coffin, that's William Blake. I don't know if you enlarge. This is not a very good painting for enlarging this one. But then you can see this is William Blake's face. So Blake tends as a habit of putting himself on the picture
Yeah.
when he's doing paintings of Christ. So there
Yeah.
he is in hiding.
Yeah.
He's well disguised. You have to enlarge to see that.
Yeah.
It's not
Like in,
it's not just my opinion. Other scholars of Blake have said that this is
yeah,
Blake again putting himself on the picture. He tends to do that, you know.
yeah.
And
Like in
you
Como.
see those men. You see on the far right, there are two old men. They look like Indian rishis or
Yes.
fakirs or
Yeah,
God knows who they are. I mean, this could be again the Trimurtis in disguise or not. I don't know. Could be.
yeah,
We don't know who they are. But Blake has a tendency to put these Trimurtis on the pictures somehow.
yeah.
But to us, it's a big mystery.
It's the
Thanks
same
for
like in
enlarging.
Como when he put himself here.
Yes, in Comas he appears a lot as the plowman. It's
Yes.
true. You're absolutely right. Yes, there he is again. Blake is often on the picture in disguise, very well disguised.
Yeah.
So if we move to the next, maybe. Good enlargement you did there. That helped. Yes. Again, Christ is raising the Kundalini. So Christ seems to be always raising the Kundalini, hand above the Sahasrara. And here again, this is another of those great miracles of Christ that is in the Bible about that lady that people thought she was dead, and Christ said, "No, she's just let's wake her up," you know.
Yeah.
So Christ awoke her Kundalini, and there she is. She's back. So there we go. A very Sahaj attitude. Another one where the Christ seems to be giving realization, and the person is putting the hand towards the Sahasrara of Christ,
Mhm.
even, you know. So very powerful Sahaj symbols here.
Yeah.
Like never misses a chance to give you a Sahaj symbol in his paintings. So you can see, yes, this looks like something related to Sahaja Yoga.
Yeah.
So this is a puja to Christ's feet.
Hmm.
The, in the Bible, as you spoke the other day, several paintings, have several quotes, several episodes of puja done to Christ's feet, or puja done to the Sahasrara of Christ also, anointing the Sahasrara of Christ with oil. In this case, they are doing puja to his feet.
This is the
So
oil.
that's the oil, yes. That's
Yes.
the oil.
And the
She's
hair.
kissing her feet and drying and drying. She's crying. She's wiping the feet with the
Yeah.
tears and drying with the hair. So this episode is described in the Bible. We can see that Christ is looking at the Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
Is the Virgin Mary? Christ is just looking at the Virgin Mary. You know, look
Yeah.
at the feet of the Virgin Mary, just to remind us. You know,
Yeah.
You see, this is a unique painting of Blake. You have the feet of Christ and you have the feet of the Virgin Mary,
Yeah.
and they are both approving the puja. Both Christ and the Virgin Mary are in a attitude of devotion. They are receiving the puja.
How about the finger?
Oh, he is against the puja. This is Simon the leper.
Yes.
No, Simon. No, Simon the not the leper. Simon the Pharisee is the
Yes.
is the host. He invited Christ for a meal. But as a host, he did not do his duty. He did not wash Christ's feet as he should, did not give him a kiss. So Christ complained about that lack of protocol. And also, this Pharisee, he
Yeah.
did not approve the puja. But Christ approved the pujas. He always defended the pujas that were done to him. So in Sahaj, we honor this tradition of puja that's very ancient, coming from the days of Christ already and before. And William Blake gave us a very beautiful painting of this special one because he puts the Virgin Mary in the picture.
Yeah.
The Bible does not tell you if the Virgin Mary is there or not, but Blake imagined the Virgin Mary there, and the feet of the Virgin Mary are there,
Yeah.
like the feet of Christ, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a very Sahaj symbolic. There's a lot of Sahaj symbolism in
Yeah.
this painting.
And all the attitude of these guys, four guys, are the negative attitude. All
Yeah, condemning the puja. They are
yes,
against puja.
all these guys looking up, finger. This guy also negative attitude. All those guys have a different attitude.
But Christ always defended the puja. Whenever there was a puja
Yes.
done to him, he supported it and defended the puja.
Yes.
According to the biblical reports, Christ was in favor of the puja.
Yeah.
People were against it sometimes. Christ, in fact, then even washed the feet of his own disciples, to give an example.
Yeah.
This is something unprecedented. The Guru washing the feet of the disciples, it's the next level, That
Yes.
just gives you an idea how much Christ was in favor of puja.
Yeah.
So here again, this is something that Mother was telling us when she was showing us paintings. The size of the auras that Blake gives to Christ. You see, it's another pillar of light around Christ. You see the red one and the blue one. It's really powerful. It's giving vibrations like Mother does, blessing, with the hands like Mother does. Behind Christ, you can see the Virgin Mary looking very young, like a very young Virgin Mary there behind him. Then possibly some disciples or some Trimurtis, you see on the edge of the painting some very aged, very old ones. God knows who they are, I don't know. It could be anyone. And again, this is like a push to Christ they are doing here because the way they are bowing down at his feet
Yes.
and is giving blessings like Mother gives, at the end of the puja. So in a sense, Blake transformed this into a beautiful attitude of puja. The hands are very, the hands are very important. If you look at the hands in this painting and
Yeah.
the children are there at the feet of Christ. You see, Christ's feet are surrounded by the children.
Not only children, but there are people outside of proportion, are very very small one. Even those guys, if you make them standing, are not as the normal size. So from that perspective, the painting looks like the early medieval paintings when small important people are make it
Very tiny. Yes,
yeah,
the proportions.
small size, you know. So
Yes,
probably the size of the people showed the fact that they are ordinary people, although those guys having palms uh, uh, branches looks very, very positive.
yes, this is Christ's entry into
Go
Jerusalem.
through
So,
Jerusalem with
and people are
people.
offering those palms. The
Yes,
palms are being put on the floor, and the cloths, and the people are lining the streets with cloths for Christ to pass through.
yes.
It's a wonderful painting. You can see above Christ the whole Sastrara, the whole thing is incredible.
You know, this tradition is kept in the Orthodox Church in our country, back in Romania and in all other Orthodox country. And even when Shri Mataji came to Russia, people put scarves and stuff
On the floor,
on the
yes.
floor for her to
To walk, yes.
step on. And we have the
Yes,
tradition with the palms on the
yes.
uh,
Palm Sunday, yes.
yes, Palm Sunday. Yeah. And this is Jerusalem, supposedly.
Absolutely. That is Christ's entry into
Yes.
Jerusalem.
Yeah.
That's the illustration.
Yeah.
So this is just a sample of paintings of Christ by Blake. So this is here. This is that point. This is that point in time when Christ said to John, "Behold, behold your mother. Behold your mother." Christ said to John, "Behold your mother." The mother is the Virgin Mary, of course.
Supposedly, this is John.
Yeah, this is John, and the Virgin Mary is in front of Christ, and Christ is on the cross. And that's one of the last things Christ said before dying, "Behold the mother." And
Yeah.
one day we were at mother's hotel. Mother was staying in a hotel in Sheffield, and we were just sitting there. Mother gave a fantastic public program, and we were all blasted by the program. That program was incredible. And we went to see Mother in a room, in Sheffield, and we just sat there looking at Mother. Mother was sitting on her bed and was sitting there, sitting on the ground, on the floor, looking at Mother, not. And Mother used the expression, you see, "Behold the Mother," because this is what we are doing. We are beholding the Mother. And so Mother asked us this question. Remember, Christ said, "Behold the Mother,"
Yes.
which is what we were doing, all of us, at that moment. And then she asked us, "What does it mean to behold the Mother?" And we didn't know the answer. What does it mean to behold the Mother? And Mother gave the answer: to behold means to hold her in your heart, to have to hold her in your heart. That's what it means to behold the Mother. So beautiful things Mother said. Remind us, when seeing this painting, I remember those things.
Yeah,
Some Blake scholars tell us that this is Blake at the edge, an old man, very bold. That's Blake putting himself there on the picture, the bold man.
the,
At his old age, Blake became also a bit bold, And the scholars tell you this is William Blake again, hiding himself there.
if you know these small details, that's good.
So this is the Pentecost, big
Mm-hmm.
flames of fire coming out of
Yeah,
the heads of the disciples during the
yeah,
Pentecost. Mother's talked a lot about the Pentecost in her talks.
yeah.
And so Blake, because this is to do with the Sahaj Yoga. And that's incredible the way Blake does that, on top of the Sastrara, all those Kundalinis.
That's a very interesting shape because in the Muslim miniature, usually the shape of the flame have only one limb.
Yes, but because the English Bible said tongues of flame, the tongues, is plural, so Blake put two tongues there.
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
because it's the English translation that uses that expression, tongues
yeah,
of flame
yeah,
or tongues of fire. So Blake gave a literal depiction of that
yeah.
quote, biblical quote, in the English translation. So here Christ is descending into the grave, according to William Blake. That's what the painting is. And is holding the keys. So it looks like he did not give the keys to St. Peter. He's holding them in his own hands and he's taking them away with him.
Um, any idea why he have two keys?
No, there's a key maybe to the left, to the right. He controls
Yes.
everything.
Yeah, I was
You know,
thinking.
it
Yeah, I
looks
was
it
thinking.
looks like Christ did not give them away to Peter. He's taking them
Yes.
with him.
Yeah.
No, so it's a different vision. It's a very beautiful painting. In the book, we give a nice, beautiful quote from the Bible to illustrate this painting of Blake. But you can see the heart there, uniting this family. You have
Yeah,
is the death. Saint Joseph is dying,
yeah,
and Christ and the Virgin Mary are there, and you see the heart there.
yeah,
And you have the whole Sastrara opening.
yeah,
Above. Looks like a massive Sastrara. Looks like some Sahaj photographs
yeah,
of Shri Mataji. Some miraculous photographs of light look like this one.
yeah.
That's what Saj yogis tell me. Those photographs taken of mother on a boat in a trip.
Yes,
This type of light effects very similar to some miraculous Sahaj photographs.
yes. Yeah,
But
these
there are
colors.
beautiful Bible. There are very beautiful Bible illustrations that go with this painting of
Yeah,
Blake. So it's a beautiful one.
yeah,
You see all the little babies on the Sastrara there. A kind of
yeah.
a
Angels.
bandana, a bandana of little angels, little
Yes.
babies.
Yeah,
These are the spiritual birth because the divine family is giving spiritual birth. So many little babies there, the newborn souls, the seekers.
yeah. There
This
are
is a,
10.
a vision of heaven. It's like a vision of heaven.
Yeah, there are 10 of them.
Oh my God, I haven't counted. Let me see.
Yeah.
Yes, you are right. There are 10, in fact. Very interesting.
Hmm.
Yes, so many possible Sahaj meanings.
Absolutely.
I don't know why it shows this one. This is, of course, Christ in the tomb. Right now, I can't remember why. I think I was trying to highlight that aspect of the bandan, the shape of the bandan and the
Hmm.
shape of the sastrara. You
Yeah,
see on the architecture, Blake tends to do that. In the middle, you have the three ladies. You have here three ladies in the
yeah,
middle,
yeah.
and you have the symbol of the architecture is like the
Hmm.
taking you up, like a big power taking you up to heaven, and the sastra above. This is the
Yeah,
type of structure that Blake tends to do with three ladies there, you know, which is again, they could represent a kind of trigonatmika maybe. And William Blake, the old man, the old William Blake is there. If you see paintings of Blake at old days, this is William Blake there in the mid. behind the
Yeah.
one dressed in black.
Yeah.
The one dressed in black represents the death, of course,
Yeah.
but the death has been defeated because Christ defeated death. He resurrected. So death is very ashamed of himself in this case because Christ, he has no power there. Christ is beyond the power
Yes.
of death. So it's a powerful painting, really,
Yes.
reminding us how Christ is beyond the power of death.
Yeah.
This is an illustration of Blake's favorite parable. Blake's favorite parable in the whole Bible is the parable of the prodigal son.
Yeah.
You can see that Blake put himself on the picture again as the prodigal son, very humble there, bowing down to God because the father represents God.
Yeah.
And this was Blake's favorite parable. And the friends of Blake had a group of friends when he was old called the Ancient. These were young people. They were painters also. They were artists. And sometimes they would ask, Mr. Blake, tell us the parable of the prodigal son, please. We want to hear it. Please tell us the story. And Blake would start telling the story because he knew the Bible by heart also, so he could tell the whole story. But usually he would start crying. He was never able to tell the whole story because the tears would come to him while telling the story, and he never was able to tell the whole story because he would start crying in between. So Blake had some very deep feeling towards this parable of Christ. And as you can see, he put himself on the picture again there, humbly at the feet of God.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful painting.
Yeah.
So this is Christ's ascension. You can see again the power of the three powers of Christ is going up, and
Yeah.
the two archangels on the left and the right. The people in the crowd are the disciples. Officially, they are the disciples, but they look like some ancient Indian rishis and sages and Trimurtis, or God
Yeah.
knows who they are. But okay, officially, you could say they are the disciples of Christ.
Yeah. There are 11. Obviously, according to the tradition, Judas is not there.
Yes.
I dare to differ. We will talk probably a different time about Judas, but obviously, Blake preferred to go with the tradition. So there are
Yes,
11.
Blake never talked well of Judas. Blake never ever talked very nicely about Judas. So Blake takes a
Uh,
position.
yeah, I believe Blake, but also I believe Jesus from a different gospel when he said that Judas has done what he have to do and was advised by Jesus itself. But anyway, it's a tragic character, Judas.
But
Anyway,
yeah,
the fact that are only 11 here is nothing to do with the interpretation because by that time Judas was dead. So, but that's another discussion. This one.
but the thing to notice also is that power around Christ. You see that light,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah,
going to the going to the Sastrara, going into
yeah,
the heavens. This powerful light around Christ is very
yeah,
incredible.
yeah,
Like he is the power of the sun, really.
yeah.
You can
And
see the sun.
we love the shape of the angels and the
Oh, they're
pointing
wonderful.
pointing fingers as well.
Yes, towards the heaven. They're pointing. He's going up. Yes, he's
And
going up.
the marks
On the hands, yes.
and
It's
on the
in the
feet.
feet, yes, yes. Important details are there. Christ is very strong. Mother likes the way
Yes.
Blake paints Christ so strong always,
Yeah.
incredible. Because he really was very strong. He's correct.
Yeah.
So Blake is very correct in that. Okay, let's see a few more. We're getting close to the end. So the reason I chose this one, it's just a sample. The book has so many more paintings of Christ, but here we are only looking at a sample. But this to me is a special one for me because when Shri Mataji told me to write about William Blake and Saj Yoga, she told me to remember to write about the fact that Blake did not like rationality. So this painting is a symbol of Blake is defeating rationality. Christ is defeating also rationality. So one of the interpretation of these paintings, Blake is trying to show how Christ is against rationality or against unbelief, against immorality, against anything that is not religious,
Mhm.
but also against rationality, because that was Blake's main function to remind people to go beyond rationality, to go
Yep.
back to the days of faith in God rather than rationality and science only, to always give more importance to the spiritual world than the material world. And rationality is part of the material world. So Christ is defeating
Yep.
those forces of materialism and rationality. And Blake, so that's why this was chosen, because it reminds me of those things Mother told me about.
Yep.
And again, this is the angel of revelation. But William Blake, according to all the scholars, they know the paintings of Blake, they know the portraits of William Blake, so they can tell you straight away
Mhm.
this is a self-portrait of William Blake again.
Yep.
So he made himself like the angel of revelation in
Mhm.
this painting. And it's a phenomenal painting. If you see that spiritual sun behind the angel is like the open sastrara, the
Yep.
hand is towards above the sastrara towards heaven.
Yep.
You know, it's a really powerful spiritual painting showing the power of the spirit, the power of the Kundalini, the power of the Sastrara. It's
But
something only Blake can do.
the book as well, the knowledge as well is there.
Yes, in the hand, yes. But this is exactly what it says in the Bible about the angel of Revelation had a little book in the hand. So there is the book, and
Representing knowledge. Yep.
yes, so it's there. The
So
scriptures, yes,
what we
the
have,
prophecies. This is the This is Saint John of Patmos. He had that vision, so he's writing it down.
yep,
Saint John of Patmos is the one who wrote the book of Revelation. That's him there writing the story.
what we have here.
Oh, these are the seven, the seven horses. The riders of the apocalypse.
Yeah, so we have three,
That's another.
seven. Yep.
These are the riders of the apocalypse. These are It's part of the last judgment.
Yeah.
The
And
apocalypse.
the fires.
Coming out of the feet of the
From,
angel. This is also described in the vision of John of Patmos. There was that fire coming from his feet, yes. So Blake, made it, painted it exactly like the Bible says, really. But
yeah.
it's monumental. It's a monumental painting, that one. So we've seen a sample now of the paintings of Christ that have been used to illustrate the book of Charles Dickens, which is a book about the life of Christ, written for children, And Charles Dickens never published that book in his life. It was just a manuscript. On his will, he wrote instructions that they should never ever be published. But about 100 years after the death of Charles Dickens, they realized that now that's no problem because the church is no longer so powerful now.
Yeah.
There's no danger. We can publish this. It's not going to cause any harm to the good name of Charles Dickens, and it didn't. People respected the book all the same, although he never finished it. In the sense, it was not. Dickens never gave it a final edit, so it was not edited, making it a little harder to read for children. But now we try to simplify the language for children.
The best biblical stories are the one who are at least for the level of the primary and the primal understanding. The best biblical stories are the one told by others. My experience with Thomas Mann, Joseph and his brothers, was an example of that. So by that time, I read the Bible, but reading Thomas Mann was a different a different story. So was not only a pleasure, but a, a spiritual experience. Obviously, before Sahaja Yoga. So for me, Bible it's one, but Thomas Mann it's a different level. I love it. So I suppose that's the same with Dickens. So the more sources you have, the better.
I agree totally, totally. And Milton did the same. Milton also wrote long portions of the Bible. He wrote them again in poetry. And in India, people kept, some poets wrote the Ramayana again. You know, they just wrote it in different languages. They put
Yes.
it into rhyme
Yeah.
and they wrote it. Some Marathi poets decided,
Yes.
let's write the Mahabharata, or not the Ramayana, but let's write it in Marathi because the Ramayana was in Sanskrit. It's
Hmm.
not a translation, it's a new work. It follows the story very correctly, but still,
Yeah.
these are it's a great form of poetry to write the scriptures
Yes.
in poetry with imagination, like Milton did that, and the great
And
Indian poet did the same in India. And
but
those books
The Indians start much early with Ganeshvara,
yes,
with
yes,
his Marathi version of
of the Bhagavad Gita.
yes, so of Gita. Uh, One last thing before we finish, which should be in a few minutes, because that was the agreed time for us. Um, for our viewers who wonder why we are going too much or not too much, too often to these subjects, which is touch with Christianity, is one simple answer. We don't want to put Christianity over any other religion. We just probably know Christianity better because we both born in Christian religion. We both understood Christianity in true in the true value after Sahaja Yoga. We don't want to make it the primal subject of our discussion, but that we know very well. So that not saying that doesn't mean that we are not paying attention to other aspect of spirituality, especially the Hindu one, which both of us are very fond of. So that's a simple explanation, and obviously nothing to do with the icons behind my wall. Um, so. Anything else you want to add?
No, nothing. I mean, it's hard to talk about books because the books, they're about reading, not about talking about the books. So I'm talking too much about the books when the whole point is people might want to read them, maybe.
They will. And that our advice, final advice, our conversation and our slideshow is just to arise your attention towards that subject. So again, it's not about Christianity. It's about spirituality. It's about this big incarnation, which was William Blake, and we will continue to do that. I'm very much hope.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us again and again. And I enjoyed these conversations very much. Thank you so much.
Okay. Um, as usual, I'm the one to thank you for your time and for your work and for sharing the work with us. Goodbye for now. Jai Shri Mataji to you
Jai Shri
and to
Mataji.
our listener. We hope that you will be watching and you will like it. We were looking for your comments. Until next time, we said goodbye and Jai Shri Mataji.
Jai Shri Mataji.